Good morning. My name is Kirsty Dignam, and I'm here to look at the energies this week with today's Monday's Musings on the 10th of March 2025. I just want to take a moment to pause. It feels really important this week to feel into why we want to know what we want to know. If we can understand the bigger vision of our own understandings this week, many of the questions we once had about ourselves, each other, and the world that we're creating will no longer be relevant, even though that feels as if that's a mighty leap away from where we may find ourselves. We may find ourselves this week in more confusion than we've ever experienced as things come to a loggerheads. In the next 2 weeks, from now until the end of March, there are going to be news and situations, particularly collectively, that are really going to shake us to our core in regards to what it is we understand, in regards to how we see the world, more importantly, in regards to how we see ourselves, our place here, and the impact that we can have as a result. Until then, it feels really, really vital to go that step further beyond what we're trying to figure out. I hear figure 8. what we're trying to figure out and looking at the infinite effect that has by acknowledging where we're trying to understand things from and why. This week I will look into the energies as I do every week with the intention of looking at where we can work with them, not against them. Looking at where we can take responsibility for the future that we're creating, not be victims of it. Looking at where we can collaborate with the circumstances rather than have no say. And that may feel as if that's where we are this week, as if we have no say in a lot of the things that are occurring, rightfully so. A lot of the external I want to say plays, a lot of the external things that are playing their self out are to be witnessed. And that's really uncomfortable. And we will do so in our own different, unique ways. And that's the emphasis here. It is an opportunity to discover what is being asked of us, what we bring to the table. So acknowledging our intentions, but also any inner tensions they may be causing. If we are asking for insight or for ways to be certain ways, for things to be certain ways, where are we doing that from and who are we asking? One of the things that's really come up this week for me during chaos, that's the other thing I want to talk about, chaos magic, during time of incredible chaos actually, was to really acknowledge who I was seeking assistance from, why, and the impact that was having not only on myself, on them, but the whole narrative. So I'm always in the habit of seeking guidance and help from those that can't, because what that does is this builds this narrative that really works in my favor, that only I can do X, Y, and Z. And that builds the hyper independent narrative that I'm used to. And I can see that. So this week I did the opposite. This week I sought help from energies, people, places that I wouldn't have normally considered. And I kind of let everyone else off the hook to be who they need to be and offer what they need to offer. We can get really caught up in we want certain people or certain situations to be a certain way. You know, we all want our family to be supportive and they may not be. We may want our partners to have all the answers and save us and they may not be able to. And that doesn't mean that they don't have skills to bring to the table. If we can let go of any assumptions and any expectations this week, not let go but expand them, not only will we release those that we love and the situations playing out around us, but we will also increase our own vastness and our own awareness, because we will be able to connect to other energies that will bring in other sides of who we are and other versions of narratives. So this week instead I connected to higher guidance, particularly with energies that I've been avoiding. And the impact has been quite efficient, shall we say. Very efficient. And it's shown me a lot about myself and where there's been conflict with any intentions that I've had. This week, really feeling into that. What are we seeking? Where are we seeking it from? Why are we seeking it? What narrative are we continuing to repeat as a result? What is the actual step forward? What have all these lessons shown us? What is it we are choosing to now move with and take onto the path? The other thing that's coming up is there's a lot of guidance in regards to a still point, a set point, a turning point. And I'm not going to get into who's saying what. That feels really relevant this week, to stand in your own energy with that. The information coming through for me personally to share is that the set point, thank you. And that's really, the moment we do that, it becomes a lot lighter and a lot clearer, because we're not getting involved in the spaghetti energy that is about, because it is about, and it will be about until the end of March at least. There's going to be a lot of things playing out that are going to make us, or invite us to question our reality of the world that we live in and who we are. And yes, it's going to be a game changer. So really standing firm in what it is you're being asked to share as a result. The information that is coming through for me personally to be guided to share forward is to recognize that the set point comes from within. This is nothing that we don't already know, but taking that to the next level. It's one thing to know, it's another thing to do. An example, I remember seeing a video a long time ago. I'll try and find it, but if not, I know it's out there on YouTube or somewhere. And it was an Indigenous man talking about meditation. He'd gone, there's importance in storytelling this week. He'd gone to his grandfather and said that he'd managed to get really good at meditating. And his grandfather asked him how he knew that. And he said, because I'm doing it 3 times a day. His grandfather told him to go away and get even better at meditating, which he did over consecutive months. And he meditated more and more and more. The emphasis of the story from the grandfather was it's not about separating ourselves and putting ourselves in a meditative state, but trying to find that meditative state in everything that we do. Meditation is not something that is outside of us. Meditation is not something that we do. It is a state of being that we are. The set point, the still point is not outside of us. The void of potential is not outside of us. It is within us. Healing, reading, channeling, meditating, connecting to the earth, magic, all comes from our ability to bring it within us. Okay, as above, so below, to be the bridge for that potential. Now, that doesn't mean to be in a Zen-like state and not be affected by anything. That means to be aware of what you are being affected by before acting. I say before, it's actually one and the same. Okay, so it's a flow. So the moment we are more aware, our actions respond to that, and they join forces. There's a lot of action going on, and thankfully we're going to be supported by Venus going retrograde, Mercury going retrograde, but there's been a lot of action going on without an awareness, without taking time to go within and feel that still point first. There's a lot of reactions going on. And that is going to increase over the next few weeks. And, you know, we do what we do as and when we're guided to do it. And it's going to be different for us all. What I'm being guided to share is to really value this still point within. It is the root of all healing. It is the root of all change. We talk about the power of presence, but this month and this week in particular is a wonderful opportunity to embody that. That doesn't mean to avoid what is going on, but to have the courage to truly feel what is going on for you. Seeking help, to have someone hold space for you if that is what you need, but looking at where you're seeking it from and why, and whether or not it's actually helping you expand beyond narratives that you have outgrown, and those that you're seeking help from as well. There's a lot of dynamics playing themselves out that are, I'm not really one for saying twin flames and soulmates, but if we're going to go down that road, there's a lot of soul connections that are playing themselves out, utilizing each other to heal narratives now. And that is why we're in each other's lives, right? So if something is triggering you and bringing something up in you, it is an opportunity to heal or move away from it, or whatever you now need, but recognizing first What is it you need? What narrative are you playing out? What story wants to be healed now? And how can you best do that? By coming into the still point, by coming into the action of Zen, recognizing that the equilibrium, the homeostasis, the human body knows that in order to function at its best, it needs balance. That's not to say it's not affected, but it recognizes when it's out of balance and it does all it can to restore that. But we have to acknowledge where we're out of balance first. When we do so, how we see the world won't change, but it will be from a more vast experience, a more balanced experience. And the more we can practice that, why is this important? Because the more we can practice that, I've just seen this now, as we go into next year, 2026, the year of change, we will acknowledge our power to create that change. Not always necessarily from physical external actions, but from bringing things in that are chaotic into a place of stillness so that they can be witnessed, unravel and disperse and heal and restore their own balance. A lot of the things externally have forgotten their power, their connection, their light. Pointing that out doesn't remind them. We can point out to people what is wrong and what's going on in the world that is this, this, and this. Reminding the energies of what they are capable of their potential by purely standing in your own. That's how we shift things. It's the age-old saying, isn't it? To lead isn't to make someone do something, but to embody that and, allow people to see what that looks like and then make an informed choice themselves. And that's important this week as well. And, well, forever, right? We can see potential, our own included. Doesn't mean we always reach that. Doesn't mean we always may want to reach that. Being compassionate with that. There's a lot of old wounds being reopened, a lot of stories being replayed. Having compassion for that, coming back, what's going to help me be grounded and restore balance in my own life? Taking a moment, a pause, a breath, a walk, a glass of water, surrounding yourself in things that feed the heart. These things are really important if we're going to cope with change. Now that brings me on to the next step. Quite literally, but it will anyway. So acknowledging what it is we're seeking, where we're seeking it from and why. Are we aligned with higher intentions, or are we causing conflict within our own inattentions now, aspects that we have outgrown but continue to bring into fruition, into our reality? And why? What do we really, really need? And therefore, who do we really, really need to ask help from? Letting each other off the hook, not seeking advice, guidance, healing, support from areas that can't anymore, because all that does, right, is make us feel crap and make the people that we're seeking it from crap as well. So letting go of those expectations and expanding our awareness, being honest with what we need and acknowledging that that means we do have to reach out further. Okay, we do have to expand further if we want to untangle where we are. There's no point trying to seek advice, guidance, support from those that are in the same situation this week in particular, over the next few weeks actually, because all that's going to do is add to the masses. The other thing, as we go into 2026, I've mentioned that it's a year of change and that we're bringing all of this chaos into our bodies, that we are being the channels, the bridge, the chakana, the very transformation that we're seeking by bringing things into a state of stillness. As we acknowledge chaos magic. Chaos magic isn't born or developed or created through chaos and chaos. Chaos magic is the ability to stand still in the storm. And it's an incredibly ancient way of creating change that is going to come to the forefront more for those that are able to do that. Why is that important? Well, that is actually how the earth creates as well. So the more connected we are to the earth, the more we're going to feel this ability. The more we're also going to feel distracted to come away from that. So the amount of change that we are looking for, the amount of change that we are able to create will depend on the amount of stillness that we can find from within. Make of that what you will. Take of that what you will. let's get on with reading the energies for the week. Oh. Made me jump. And there are going to be some startling reflexes this week as an opportunity to come back into our center, to bring some humor into the situation as well. What actually hit the desk was the coaster underneath my cup, and it's got a monkey on it. To have that joy, to have that freedom, to play. Chaos is also about play, to play with things, to be prepared to be startled from some of the things that we see and experience, because that's chaos, right? But also to acknowledge that it's not about coasting along anymore. Stillness isn't about doing nothing. Zen isn't a passive thing to be doing. Recognizing the power of the sacred witness and how that actually really truly brings the opportunity for all change to be a potential. Not just the change that we see or would like. That can be quite difficult. But there's an element of trust there. There's an element of trust there. Okay, and it's trust in the connection, it's trust in those we seek help from, but it's trust in ourselves. It's trust in ourselves. A lot of the times we repeat certain narratives so that we can relearn to believe in our capability and our potential. The more we trust ourselves and what we have discovered, the less we repeat things that are there to show us that. Okay, energies this week and how to best navigate them. Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in the growth that is occurring at the moment. Remember to see, I can hear the analogy, can't see the wood through the trees. Remember to look through the gaps of things, our own included, to use the opportunities of uncertainty, which are going to increase. As a species, it's very much about being able to intuitively be present in uncertainty for the normality that it is. We cannot figure everything out. All the time we figure things out, we have an expectation on how things are going to be, and that actually restricts our choice, that restricts our potential, that restricts the change that we're seeking. So we can have an idea, okay? We can have an idea, but an idea isn't everything. It's a seed waiting to be grown. So acknowledging the gaps in our wisdom, the gaps in our guidance, the gaps in our answers are a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to see beyond the perspective that we expected. Say that in a mouthful. Okay, energies this week and how to best navigate them. It's about seeing, something just really stabbed me in the side. It's about seeing the wisdom of our own vision. Energies this week and how to best navigate them. Take our time. There's no rush, particularly if we feel pressure externally to get things right, particularly if we feel pressure externally to know all the answers. Don't let that be the intention. We're only ever going to get answers from that perspective based on the person that's seeking them. Okay, so take time to connect further to your own wisdom, your own vision, your own sight. Okay, know when enough is enough. So at the bottom of the pack, we have the 10 of Wands, which is suppression. Know when enough is enough. There may be times this week where you don't feel ready to act. There may be times this week where you don't feel ready and you want more guidance and more support, more answers, more clarity. You can only get the clarity that you seek in the moment that you're in. There's a fine line between procrastination and Zen. Okay, so it's recognizing that action requires intuition and action. So you have an instinct, feel into it, act on it. we can often hold ourselves back, wanting to get things right, particularly as we lead into the Virgo full moon. There's a overshadowing of perfectionism, overshadowing of overanalyzing things, wanting to get things right, forgetting the importance and the beauty of experience that comes from fucking up. Sometimes it's really good to have mistakes. Okay, so we learn about ourselves and we learn about who we are and what it is we offer. We don't get that unless we make that move. So at the bottom of the pack is the Ten of Wands. It's suppression, not getting caught up not only in the stories around us, but our own stories as well. You know, I can't do this because of this, this, and this. An example, we're actually having to find a home again. So there is a real emphasis on I can't really do much healing from home because we're having to move. However, that can be another story as well. There are other things that I can do, like the weekly video, the daily dose. There are still things that we can do in the situations that we find ourselves in. So really recognizing the actions that have give you foundation, the actions that have become part of your practice, not throwing them to one side just because you don't have all the answers. This is a chance to fine tune, to really hone in what you want to then take forward. Is it aligned with your intentions? Is it aligned with your potential? Or are we just seeking answers to keep avoiding that? That's got a real emphasis this week. Are we being distracted by seeking answers externally so that we can avoid the truth that is within us? Ten of Wands at the bottom, right? Suppression. I'm using the Osho Zen deck here, and I know there's a lot of conflicting energies around Osho as well. So really feeling into whether that's enough to make you stop working with those energies, finding your own discernment this week. Ten of Wands, suppression. You can see this is that spaghetti-like energy, that tangled up energy. Okay, where have we become stuck? Well, we have the Four of Swords underneath, postponement. There are things that we can be actioning. Okay, there are things that we can be getting on with in order to return to the colourful vision that we now need to take forward. We can focus on the things that seem very black and white, or we can look into the grey areas and really find different shades of humanity, our own included, this week. Underneath it we have the Five of Swords, which is comparison. I need to show you this card. Comparison. We have a tree and a bamboo shoot. Okay, trying to compare energies that are completely different. They may look the same, they may act the same, but they are completely different. Again, looking at where we're seeking help from, look at where we're seeking advice and guidance from, our own self included. Are we seeking answers from our inner child, our traumatized self, wounds that are there? Where are we seeking guidance from? It may look like what we need. It may look and appear the same as where we are, recognizing the differences there in ourselves and each other so that we can really bring forth the gifts and the skills that help us to stand apart from each other. They're needed. All of these differences are needed, not to compare and be like, but to stand next to each other proud in who we are. Underneath that we have the Eight of Swords. We have guilt. There is no way of seeing any beauty or blossoming here all the time we're in our heads. Okay, so going beyond that, going further than that, pushing through any veil of confusion we may have, finding that transcendent peace within. That doesn't mean not be affected with it, but be affected. Have peace with the fact that things in the world are causing you emotional distress. Yeah, have peace with the fact that certain situations are making you feel unsafe. Acknowledge what is going on for you without the guilt or the shame. There's so much pressure on how we should be, particularly in the spiritual world. We should be recognizing the almost veneer impression of what it means to be Zen, of what it means to be spiritual, what it means to be in balance and harmony, acknowledging that that doesn't mean we're not affected, but that we are aligned with ourselves in any given situation. Letting go of the guilt, the pompous, the shame, the I'm not doing it right because everyone out there is, you know, a healer and they have no pain, or everyone out there is relaxed and Zen-like and they're not feeling any stress. Whatever you're feeling is right for you. Align to that. Acknowledge the difference between intention and inattention. Look at the conflict you may have with yourself and what you're feeling and where that is coming from mentally. With the full moon in Virgo, we are really going to be encouraged to look at things like perfectionism, guilt, shame, obsession. Underneath it, we have the Two of Swords, schizophrenia. Feeling as if we're stretched between realities right now, because we are. Feeling as if we're being really overwhelmed by what is going on, because we are. Feeling as if we may want to close our eyes to what is going on, because it's an invitation to go within. That isn't bypassing. That is whatever you need to get from A to B to find that peace within first. Underneath that, we have the Two of Cups, friendliness. Underneath that, we have those two trees. Underneath that, we have those similar energies that can stand side by side without being entangled with each other. There's a difference between relationships and codependency. Okay, or looking at the difference of the relationships that you want and where you may be codependent with your own expectations of what they should be. How friendly are they to you, to the person involved, to the world that you're trying to create? How compassionate are they? How nurturing are they? Are they growing? Are they inspiring? Are they beautiful? Or underneath it all, we have the Knight of Swords. Are they built up with armor? Is there fighting in the background? Are we constantly in conflict with who we are as a result? Nine of Wands underneath, exhaustion. Okay, so I could really go into that, and that feels quite important this week. We can really get caught up in what is occurring, and we can get the answers. We can see what's going on. How do we move through it? I was going to say, how do we move forward? But how do we move through it? How do we best navigate the energies to reach our potential this week? I feel a hunger in my tummy, allowing that to be the guidance. What is it we are truly hungering for? Now I feel a thirst. What is it that we need to sustain us now in order to go through the rites of passage, the processes that we all are? Okay, energies this week and how to best navigate them. It almost feels like there's a resistance to breaking things down. However, there's a recognition here that in order to ground into everything occurring, it needs to be more small, bite-sized chunks of information this week. Sensory overload is really worth looking out for as we go into the full moon in Virgo. Acknowledging when there's times to retreat, to go within, how important that is. We often see needing to retreat or needing time out as a symptom. As a symptom to being burnt out or overwhelmed, or a world that is busy, or as a negative thing. But actually coming back into our own core constantly, bringing that magic to everyday life, bringing that harmony and balance to everything that we do is vital. And if that means taking time away, so be it, but also acknowledging that taking time away, what we're actually doing, we take time away as we come back home within. Okay, so we're not going away from anything, we're coming back within. Okay, underneath it all, we have the Moon card, which is past lives in this deck, and also slowing down, and underneath the Creator and receptivity. So recognizing how important it is to keep coming back into that soul version of yourself. There are so many things playing out beyond our own understanding, so many timelines playing out beyond our own understanding here. Slowing down so that we can decide which ones we want to concentrate on, which ones we want to add our energy to, what it is that is being asked of us as a result of this, so that we can acknowledge the power that we have to be the creator of our own reality. That's really going to be key as we go into 2026. Okay. Energies this week. It doesn't feel like it all needs shuffling up again. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. No, there's 2 for Sunday. Move that to one side. Oh, and there's 2 for overall. Okay. It's interesting because the energy that I needed to move to one side was a crystal that I have, and I call him Chiron. I've always called him Chiron from the very beginning, or he told me his name was Chiron. So moving to one side, the wounded healer type energy this week, acknowledging where, I've written a newsletter on it not that long ago, acknowledging the underlying story of Chiron as the wounded healer, and is that he never actually heals anything. So really looking at where we're taking those wounds forward, where we're not actually healing them this week, where we're not actually restoring the balance, where we're not actually bringing the harmony that is necessary to return them to the original source that they were, which is love, which is alignment, which is peace. Underneath it all, everything comes, from the light. When we can bring that back into that space of remembrance, especially our own journeys, and allowing anything that isn't of the light to fade away, to bringing that home, we must move to one side the wounded healer analogy. We must move to one side this whole idea of nothing shifting, nothing changing, because the reality is it has. The reality is we have. How could we have all gone through pandemic and wars and all the things that we've seen without changing? So what has changed this week? It's a wonderful opportunity to look at that and integrate that. The energies don't need shuffling up again. The energies don't need more perspectives and more viewpoints of it or more healing. What they need is integration now. The changes need to be integrated within us. So the energy overall, we have, I can't remember, I think this is the Knight of Swords. And I guess it doesn't matter really. It doesn't really matter the energy behind it, but what it is actually portraying, which is a very confused mind. So it doesn't matter, I'm pretty sure this is the Knight of Swords, but it doesn't matter if it's the Knight of Swords and its young energy, or the King of Swords and more controlling energy or nurturing energy. It doesn't matter what energy we give if it's coming from a confused mind. Lip service. Yeah, it doesn't. I saw the other day so many beautiful posts about International Women's Day, incredible posts. And then I saw that Apple and Google have removed it from their calendars. And I had probably 50 emails of why I should sign up to programs because it's International Women's Day. Lip service. How are we helping women? How are we helping ourselves? How are we holding space for the feminine? Not by being in our mind, not by being cogs of a conveyor belt, constructive, productive machine. That is not the feminine. The feminine is intuition. The feminine is emotions. The feminine is witnessing, connecting to what we are feeling. Okay, so are we providing lip service to what we are doing? Where is that coming from? Is that coming from an overactive mind this week? It doesn't matter the energy that we give. If it's coming from our mind, it's going to be limited. The other energy that runs alongside that is the Seven of Cups, projection. We're going to get incredible confusion if we cannot stand in our own energy. This week is going to be a week of gaslighting, of reflective pain, of potential wounds if we do not come back to where we are. And it's going to be very confusing next few weeks if we do not keep returning to what we feel, not our mind, not the cogs that continually go over beyond that. Doesn't mean to ignore them, but go through that. The mind is an invitation to take it to the next level. Look at any loops that you find yourself in. What is actually being projected here? How can you change the narrative? For some, that's going to be walking away from what is going on. For some, that over the next few months, we're going to find a lot more people saying no. Not no for the sake of it. And I'm not going to get caught up in the boundaries, because for me, boundaries are about alignment. Pure and simple. Okay, boundaries are an opportunity to look at where we're in harmony. They're not about what this person can do to you or whatever. They're about where am I at. Okay, where can I find balance and peace and perspective in my journey? Boundaries are brilliant to be used on ourselves as well when we find ourselves in that loop. Okay, that is often born from not believing that we've given enough or discovered enough or sought enough, which comes from not trusting ourselves. Where are we being guided to say no, particularly with ourselves? It is going to increase over the next few months because we cannot have change if we continue to repeat things. It doesn't work that way. So what are you being encouraged to say no to? Yes, that's going to come with projections. Yes, that's going to come with It's not indecisions, but it's a uncertainty. Yeah, that, or a believed uncertainty. Okay, because things are going to be different. And the mind is going to race with that. The mind is going to say, I don't know what I'm doing here. This can't actually be true. I need to go back to talking but not doing. Yeah, and that's why on the Monday we are encouraged to integrate with temperance. We are encouraged to bring everything we have learned throughout the week, actually, from this point onwards, that still point of integration, to acknowledge, do we still need to learn from that? Are we going to take that forward? Is this a reflection of my environment? What is the best thing that I can do here? What am I feeling? Have I gone into my mind? Have I gone into fight or flight? Can I slow things down? We often believe by slowing things down, we are wasting time, losing out, taking too long. When we slow things down, not only do the waves in our brain expand the gaps in between, which allow in new information, we have new actions as a result. On Tuesday, we have, I think it's the King of Cups. Again, it doesn't really matter. It's healing. It might be the Nine of Cups. The thing with Osho's cards is they don't tell you what they are. They encourage you, invite you to expand on what you see, to acknowledge what you're feeling, which you can only do from a place of stillness. You can't do from your mind. You can't feel from your mind. You can only think. And on Tuesday, we're being encouraged to recognize the healing that is available in how we feel. Hands-on healing. This card is so beautiful in its simplicity. Hands-on healing. My tummy hurts, let me rub my tummy. My head hurts, let me rub my head. What happens when we connect to the body with our feelings? We have that embodiment, we have that grounding, we have that integration. This week it may feel as if you have to do so much healing or so many different things. Recognize where that's coming from, the mind. We are all born healers, because healing is to bring balance. Healing is to bring harmony and alignment. The body knows what to do. The world knows what to do. It needs to be held in an environment where it feels safe enough to do that. We all have this ability. If your heart hurts from what you're seeing, rub your heart instead of going into your mind. If your belly hurts from its uncertainty or feeling of lack of power or emotional creative blocks, then rub your belly. Be with your body and acknowledge the healing that can come from that. On Wednesday, we have the King of Pentacles, which is maturity. The more we are with our body, even though at first it can feel quite traumatic and we want to go back into our head, there's no rush, take our time. But the more we are with our body, particularly on the Wednesday, the more the mind can blossom beyond the trauma that has been stored there. The more the mind can grow with the incredible ideas that are in the gaps of the repetition that we've found ourselves in. If we can expand the mental loops that are going around and really feel into what potential is available there, in between the known, in the space of uncertainty, in a grounded way, then yes, we will blossom. Yes, we will start to find the beauty in all we have discovered. And that will really help with the integration. If we can sit with everything that we witness, feel into it all, be aware of our mind and our views around it, but ground into the beauty that is available with the sheer fact that we are moved by things. We are connected to all these things. Then yes, there is a much deeper level of maturity available on the Wednesday, which is going to be needed. I'm aware I'm 38 minutes in. Because on the Thursday, we have the Seven of Swords, which is politics. Okay, yes, on a global scale. Recognizing on a global scale the reflection of any conflict that is occurring within you as well. Where have you been less authentic than you need to be? Where have you been less yourself? Where have you been wearing a mask? Where have you been covering up your potential as a result? Particularly when we think back to that level of shame and guilt and the full moon that's coming in Virgo. What is it now? You know, we have the snake here. What is it now that is being shed? Yes, there are things going on the external stage. What is that bringing up in you? What answers do you need? Where are you seeking them from? Why are you seeking them? What are you adding to as a result? What is beyond all of this? Taking time on the Thursday to think about what else could be possible. When we see things that we don't like, when we see things that we don't agree with, yes, it's painful. And it's also an opportunity to think about other things that could change that, to dream a different world into being. We can't do that if we're focusing on what we don't like. Now, that doesn't mean to bypass, but that does mean to have balance. Okay, I've seen this. I don't like this. I'm going to send healing. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. I'm going to post a few things on social media to make people more aware of this. I'm going to open a constructive conversation with people. I'm going to reach out. What can I do about these things? For some people, that's going to be witnessing, watching it all unravel. For some people, it's going to be doing videos. For some people, it's going to be writing poems or planting seeds or caring for our children. Or are we in our head when we're doing it, or are we in our emotions? Are we in our intuitive wisdom here, or are we in the political game that we play with ourselves as well? The expectations that we have, the way that we think things should be. What story is that based on? What story can we shed in the collective narrative that is being played out here? On the Friday, we have the Two of Pentacles, moment to moment, one step at a time. We can get so understandably frustrated when we see things repeating themselves. As you can hear in my own voice, we get so understandably frustrated, passionate, whatever you want to call it. Bring it back one step at a time. Integration. How can I apply this to my everyday life? We all want to change the world, but cliche as it sounds, it starts with us, one step at a time. Being aware of what is going on externally, coming back, okay, what is being asked of me? I've done X, Y, and Z. Now I need to go and cook dinner for my family and be aware where my mind is when I'm cooking that dinner. You know, we talk about what we consume food-wise. We talk about what we consume in the media energetically. What about what we're feeding others as well in our lack of presence and awareness? One step at a time. On the Saturday, we have the Ten of Swords. Even though it may feel as if mentally things are really coming to a loggerheads, it's an opportunity here for, well, as the card says, rebirth. Okay, and it's rebirth of the inner child. It's rebirth of the strength that it has taken to witness what we have gone through in our childhood, to witness our childlike wonder being reborn. It's not going to happen if we focus on all the things that are going to continue hurting that innocence, that joy, that playfulness, that love. Now, again, I cannot stress this enough. It's not about bypassing, but it is about restoring balance. Okay, or we have the Ten of Swords. Our mind will rule the show. It is about restoring balance. For everything negative that we see, there is something positive. Just spend the same amount of time. The same amount of time. It doesn't mean making it better than it is, but it doesn't mean making it worse than it is either. Spend the same amount of time and energy and mindset. Being aware of that this week is going to be pivotal. Overall, for Sunday, we have going with the flow, which again, I think it might be the Knight of Cups, but again, it really doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. It's important also by Sunday not to get lost in our emotions as well. Okay, so again, keeping that balance, because we have going with the flow and we have the Five of Wands, which is totality. Surrendering it over. That's the difference, isn't it? When our mind gets too much, it's not about ignoring the mind, but recognizing we can only get so far. So surrender it over. I've done all I can with this. Write a to-do list at the end of the evening. This is what I've done today. This I will do tomorrow. Compartmentalizing it, handing it over, delegating it to energies that actually can help us. Coming back to that stillness. That is the biggest step that we can have this week, particularly if it feels as if it's getting too much. Look at where we're reaching out to. Look at whether or not that support is in place to enable us to go with the flow and allow things to shift and move through us. Okay, so overall, 44 minutes. I think we have a new moon on the sorry, a full moon with Virgo on, I think it's on the Friday, which is the Two of Pentacles. Balance. Okay, this Virgo moon, this is where I am at the moment. This is the best I can do. Really look into the four agreements. They're incredible. This is the best that I can do in that moment. This is what I would like to bring in. This is what I can do. Okay, restoring that harmony. And recognizing you can only do so much at once. So there's this big urgency to want to change the world in one go. And I get that. I really get that. But focusing too much on the end game doesn't give us the individual steps to reach it. That's a good one. Okay, right. We have one major arcana this week, which is Temperance, integration. And you can see in the middle here, in her higher heart, is the potential of balance, the masculine and the feminine in that yin yang. Okay, but recognizing the swan and the eagle, having that higher perspective of the beauty. Okay, allowing yourself to feed from the beauty as well this week in order to integrate all the changes that have happened. Oh, and you have the serpent right at the bottom. There are many, many things playing out. Many things having their moment of completion. You have a beautiful diamond energy in the crown chakra there as well. And it reminds me of the saying that carbon, when it's squashed, when it's under pressure, does finally become diamond energy. We are all under a lot of pressure. Doesn't mean it has to be uncomfortable. How can you restore safety in your environment? How can you build better trust with yourself and your relationships? What do you now need to say no to in your own narratives in order to move through the process that you have experienced over and over and over? Integrate, choose what it is you wish to take forward in every moment if you have to, and we will have to. It will be a constant reflection, a constant readjustment, a constant rebalancing, okay, because we are really stepping into our ability to bring forward the change that 2026 promises. We then have 1 2 2 1 2 2. Okay. We have one wand card, but it's the 5 of wands. So even though we may feel as if there isn't much creative scope this week, as if there's only so much that we can do, as if we may be creatively, spiritually blocked this week, what that is an opportunity to look at what we are willing to release in order to make space for. Okay, there's a lot of endings. This year is the year of completion. There's a lot of endings coming up, but that doesn't automatically mean that the new beginnings are going to be coming in. It's how we can hold space for that transition of nothingness this week. Can we let go of what we assumed would happen? Can we release the expectations that we have? We're only creatively blocked because we think we know where things are going to go. Can we expand? There is only one wand card this week, but it is the wand card of change. We don't need a lot to inspire something different, just the knowledge that it needs to be something different. Allowing that to bring harmony. When we're in the mental loop, is this different from what I've thought before? Have I learned any more from this? Am I healing from this? Am I growing from this? Is this bringing any benefit to the situation? Am I? This week, okay? Right, we then have, I'm going to go up in order. So we then have 2 pentacle cards. We have 2 of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles. That balance comes from how grounded we are in our actions, how present we are, and the power that can come from that. Less is more this week, really stepping into the sovereignty of, I've done this, that's the best that I can do, letting that be, letting that grow, allowing that seed to take root before we start pulling it up and examining whether or not it's grown in the way we think it should grow, particularly as it comes to the full moon in Virgo, being very aware of our own perfectionisms this week. As we move on to the mental energy, we have the Seven of Swords, the Ten of Swords, and I do believe it's the Knight of Swords here, but we have three. So our creativity, our birth, our changes actually come from the balance that we have between our emotions and our mindset this week. As we have the Seven of Swords, we may feel as if all control is being taken from us, that we can't make a difference, that it's all out there. And what that's going to do is bring us, for some, to a necessary mental exhaustion, so that we can let go of how we thought things would be and finally surrender the monkey mind, stop giving lip service to the world that we want and allow it to start to come down through us, which means letting go of the belief that we have no say in how things are, removing the mask of our own political agendas here. This week is going to be key by allowing the innocence and the love and the joy of seeing the world in its potential, its fullest potential, not just our vision this week. That's what's going to bring forth any changes emotionally and any healing here, because we have 3 cup cards. We have the healing card, projections, and going with the flow. There is a lot, as I say, emotionally, intuitively, spiritually, psychically being played out in our own lives and in the collective psyche. Witnessing that by first witnessing ourselves, giving ourselves compassion, allowing things to just keep shifting and moving without clinging to wounds, stories, even the good ones, the way that things were. The way that, and there is a level of nostalgia there, and I 100% can relate to that. There's a level of, it's not grief, but it's nostalgia, remembering that all those memories, all those things that we have gained are within us. Integrate them, bring them home. It's not about separating from the lessons or the situations, but reintegrating what we may have lost in order to have brought them forward in the first place. Remembering, bringing forth who we've always been, not through the ways that we have rediscovered it, but in the remembering of that. Giving ourselves patience, time, compassion, healing by reconnecting to the body. What do I feel? Am I thinking about that? Okay, bring it back. What do I feel? How do I feel about my thoughts? What impact are they having on my body? What impact are they having on how I see myself? What impact are they having on what I offer as a result? What impact are my thoughts having on the world that I'm trying to create? Let's have one more card to close that. Okay, so we actually have 3. We have the Queen of Pentacles, stress, and participation. And for that, I will acknowledge the repetition in what I offer. The daily guidance today was very much to look at where we are participating in things, what we are participating in, acknowledging that everything that we choose to receive and how we do what we do with it can actually be some of the cause of the stress that we feel. It's the monkey mind here that's about to pop what we're holding on to. Be prepared for a potentially mentally exhausting week. Put things in place that you may need to keep coming back to your body, to nurture your body for the wisdom that it is, so that you can integrate everything that has shifted and not take it forward following this full moon in I want to say Pisces, but in Virgo. Remember that you're perfect as you are, one step at a time, and just acknowledge that your cock-ups are actually the very foundation of your experience that's so desperately needed right now. Take care, and I shall see you next week.